Hello there, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I don't know when you're gonna be watching this. I hope that you're doing well, and welcome to the first video class that we're gonna have because the teacher, that means me, is gonna be absent for this Saturday. So, for today, I would like you to have a review in case you have already seen it, or an introduction of the topic wish. But what exactly is wish? Wish is an expression that we can use in many different ways. We can use it with different tenses to express different ideas, and therefore it's gonna be really helpful when you want to express these type of situations. So, the first use of the wish clauses that we're gonna be looking at today is for the present, okay? Something that we would like to be different now, right now. But don't get the idea that we're gonna use simple present for this because it's actually the opposite. We're gonna be using simple past. So first, let's go with the structure, okay? Before we go with the structure, I would like to remind you that even though we're talking about situations in the present, we are not gonna be using simple present. We're gonna be using simple past, okay? So the structure is quite easy. All you have to do is start with this, which is the subject, and the verb wish. Remember, if we're talking about third person pronouns like a he, a she, or an it, we would need to change this wish for wishes. Because remember that we need to add the s or the es if we're talking about third person pronouns. Now, after we do this, which is the start of the sentence, we would need to use a sentence in simple past. Now, what do I mean by a sentence? In case it's a positive sentence, remember the structure is subject, verb in past, and whatever context you want to add. In case we're talking about a negative, we will see it in the future, I will explain it again, but we would need to use the subject, didn't, which would be the negative auxiliary, the verb, not conjugated, and the context, okay? Remember the structure of simple past because we're gonna need to use it for these type of expressions. So, as I said before, not because I'm talking about present, that means that we're gonna be using simple present. It's quite the opposite. In this case, I wrote an example for you. As you can read right here, it says, I wish I had more Switch games. Yes, the teacher likes Nintendo, the teacher likes video games, and as you can see right here, I don't know if it's possible because of the angle of the camera, I have quite a collection, around 10 to 15. But I would like to have more. I would like it to be different. So in this case, I said, I wish I had more Switch games. You can see it right here. I built the sentence with two different parts, okay? First, we have what we call the wish clause, okay? Here is where we put the pronoun and the verb wish, okay? Now, something relevant to say is that it doesn't matter if we're talking about situations from the past, you will see it in a little bit, situations from the present, we always use the verb wish in present, okay? Very important to mention. And after that, what we express is the thing that we want to be different, okay? In this case, as you can see right here underlined with color red, I use the verb had, which would be simple past, okay? So whatever context you want to add, remember, you have to use the verb in simple past. But what about the case of negatives? We will look at that in the next example. So here you can see a negative example, and we're using the verb to be. Remember that the verb to be it's separate from other verbs because it has its own negative, okay? Remember that we do not have to use didn't when we're talking about the verb to be. We either use wasn't or we use weren't, okay? So I wish there wasn't any violence in Culiacan. Sadly, is the situation we're living in, but I wish that it was different, right? So I wish there wasn't any violence in Culiacan. Okay, something important to mention is that you can also use it with there is and there are. But remember, we're talking about past even though we're talking about present. So there wasn't or there weren't. Okay? In this case, I'm gonna use the verb to be in a positive context. Okay? So think about restaurants or think about places or stores that you would like to have here in Culiacan. I don't know, up to you. In my case, I would like that there was a Krispy Kreme, and therefore I made this example. I wish there was a Krispy Kreme here in Culiacan. Sadly, we don't have it, okay? I would like that it was different, so that's the reason I use the wish clause with the verb to be in simple past. Now, what happens in the case that I want to use any other verb that it's not the verb to be in a negative way? Okay, remember, we're talking about simple past. So what we have to do is using the auxiliary didn't. Okay, for example, this sentence. I wish I didn't have to pay taxes. Yeah, very funny, the teacher talking about politics, but it's kind of true, you know, the government doesn't do anything with them. Anyway, I wish I didn't have to pay taxes. Here, didn't, it's telling me, hey yo, we're talking about past, and therefore, I don't need to conjugate the verb. Remember that. If you have didn't, the verb goes in simple present. Okay, we don't need to change the verb because didn't is telling me that it's a past sentence. Now, if you remember, during the explanation of the structure, I was telling you that in case that we use third person pronouns like he, she, or it, we would need to change the verb wish for a wishes, right? In this case, I'm not the only one that is allowed to have wishes, right? Other people can also wish that something was different. So in this case, I'm gonna be talking about my mom. Yes, the teacher is gonna burn himself, doesn't matter. Here, my mom wishes because my mom is a she, right? I was more active around the house. Don't get me wrong, I do enough. I wash the dishes, I sweep the floor every now and then, but she wishes I was more active around the house. Okay? I'm not gonna make examples only for my mom, I also made one about my dad. My dad wishes our neighbors weren't so annoying. I'm gonna put you in some context, okay? We have neighbors around the house that apparently think that it's a good idea to make parties at 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. So as you know, we want to rest. Sadly, we can't because of the noise, right? So my dad wishes our neighbors weren't so annoying. I'm talking about my dad. My dad is a he. So I'm gonna be changing wish for wishes, okay? And here is the verb to be in simple past. Because remember, we need to do it in simple past. So, enough explaining, it's time for an activity, alright? Now, for this activity, what I did is writing the beginning of the sentences. And you will have to continue it, to continue them with the context that you feel more appropriate for each situation, okay? You can either use positive sentences or you can use negative sentences. It doesn't really matter, as long as you're using simple past with the appropriate structure. Now, these sentences, this activity, you can write it in your notebook and I can check it for next Saturday. Here, let's go with the first one. My parents wish me and my brother didn't fight so often because we kind of have a little argument every now and then. So, I wish. The teacher wishes, I wish I had more money so I could buy more things, right? You know, boxing is not a cheap hobby. I would like to have more boxing gloves, more boxing shoes, but whatever. I wish I had more money. Let's go with my teacher. In this case, from your perspective, you can talk about me or you can talk about other teachers, you know, the ones you have in high school, the ones you have in college, the ones you have in middle school. Doesn't really matter. You can talk about any teacher you want. You're not forced to talk about me. But in this case, my teacher, the one that I have right now, he wishes the presentations didn't have a lot of text because my classmates are used to doing that type of presentation, you know, a slide and boom, a lot of text. So my teacher wishes our presentations didn't have a lot of text. My best friend wishes he didn't get nervous when he speaks in public. He has that problem. When he has to speak during a presentation or a speech or whatever, he gets really nervous. So I can make that example. My best friend wishes he didn't get nervous when he speaks in public. Okay? So make one sentence for each, just complete them. You can make positive, you can make negative, whatever you want. Just use simple past. Okay? Now, to finish with today's class, we're gonna be doing another activity, alright? This activity is gonna be a text of around 50 words where you express what would you like to be different. It can be something about you, it can be something about the city, it can be something about the school, it can be something about your parents, doesn't really matter, okay? As long as you start the text with the wish expression, the wish clause that you want to use, okay? What would you like to be different? And then you're gonna justify it and you're gonna add more context. So we have to get it to 50 words, all right? That will be the last activity for today, well, for this class at least. I'm gonna send you the other videos with the other classes. This is supposed to be the first one. I don't know what order you're gonna watch this in, but this is supposed to be the first one, okay? That will be everything for the wish class. I hope you had a good day, or you're having a good day, and I will see you next Saturday. Take care.